Good evening, dear ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the program Face to Face. The book industry in our country is growing very fast, and many books appear written by Mongolian or foreign authors in our shops, increasing the reading attitudes and habits of our readers. But at the same time, there are some special books which cannot replace anyone's. And today, I would like to introduce you two of them. Book written by Prof.Jack Weatherford about the Mongolian great Khan, Genghis Khan. And the book is named The Genghis Khan and Making the Modern World. And second one is about the secret history of Mongolian queens. And today, I'm truly honored to welcome our special guest, Professor Jack Weatherford, and I'd like to thank you for coming to our studio.
It's a great pleasure to be here on Face to Face. It's a wonderful program, and I'm honored to be here with you today.
Oh, thank you very much for kind words. And I'm sure some of our viewers have read your books, especially the one which was issued in 2004 about the Genghis Khan, and we have just witnessed the opening of the new one. About the Mongolian queens. And our viewers, some of them know about you as an author, but I would like to start our conversation. They're asking you to introduce yourselves, and how did you manage to learn about Mongolia and have passion about our country?
You know, it's strange, but I think children all over the world, they read books about Mongolia or about Genghis Khan or about the Mongolian army, and their eyes become very big and they become very excited. And I was just one of those millions of children. I read about Genghis Khan, about Marco Polo, about Kublai Khan, and I was amazed and fascinated with it. But then one day when I was about 10 years old, I acquired 5 stamps from Mongolia. I was so amazed that this country was still there, because with Genghis Khan, it seemed to me it must have happened thousands and thousands of years ago. And then I realized, no, the country of Mongolia is there. And I had before me 5 stamps. It was the 5 animals of Mongolia issued in the 1950s. And I looked at the script, and I looked at the animals. Even the camel was different from what I expected. And I thought, if this country exists, maybe one day I can go there. And it was a dream of a child, but you know, there are so many dreams you have as a child and then they go away. But then later, when I was in college, the dream was still there, and I thought, well, maybe I can go. And I tried to write to Mongolia to see if it was possible, but of course, my country didn't allow it, and Mongolia didn't permit it at that time. Then in the 1970s, I wrote again, this time to the Writers' Union, and still nothing happened. And so it was a dream I had to kind of put away, and then in the 1990s, it was possible. Mongolia was open, and I was already into my 50s. And I thought, but this is a dream of my childhood. Maybe Mongolia won't be so special. But I came to Mongolia for the first time, and it was like my heart just burst with happiness and excitement. That when I saw the Mongolian countryside, when I saw the 5 Mongolian animals, when I saw the Mongolian script, and I breathed the Mongolian air, and I thought, this is the same air Genghis Khan breathed. It was a great moment in my life.
And of course, when you wait for so long, your dream to come true, besides of being impressed with our beautiful nature, what was your feeling about meeting Mongolian people, which were described in all those books written about our country?
Well, because I had read so many negative things about Mongolia, as you can imagine, I must say that for about the first 24 hours, I was a little bit shy, a little bit nervous, a little bit cautious. The Mongolian people seemed so nice, and I thought, oh, this isn't what I read about the Mongolian people. Is there a trick here? What's going on? They seem so kind, and they speak in such a gentle way to me. Something's... But then I went in the first Mongolian ger, and I sat down, and I drank sutetse for the first time. And I saw the children and the parents and how everybody was. And then I was amazed. These people are not at all the way I had them described. And from that moment on, I've had this great love for the Mongolian people.
And everybody would agree with you that before 1990s, when Mongolia opened up the doors to the international world, yes, Mongolia was betrayed in different way, especially the hero of your book, the Genghis Khan and the making the modern world the great Genghis Khan, was also betrayed as a conqueror, the warrior. And at what point you as an American or other your fellows in international countries have realized that the history of Mongolia was presented in different than is a reality?
You know, actually, if you go back to the very earliest documents, for example, Marco Polo, when he wrote about Genghis Khan, he wrote with great respect, with tremendous respect for what he had done. Even the first writer in the English language, Geoffrey Chaucer, he also wrote about Mongolia and about Genghis Khan with great respect. It was only later that these stories about the wickedness of the Mongolians began to dominate in the Western literature. So the things that I read as a child in Marco Polo certainly showed me the positive side. So I don't think I ever completely believed the negative things. I was somewhat worried about the negative things, somewhat cautious about them, but I did not believe them completely. And then when I came to Mongolia and I saw the different image, I thought it's time to go back to the original works. Go back to what Marco Polo said. Go back to what Chaucer said. Go back to what the early people said. And above all, go to the secret history of the Mongols. It was unknown. Even when I was a boy, there was no way to read the secret history of the Mongols. It was unknown. But that's the real work of the life of Genghis Khan. And so then I began to study very seriously. I was already, as I said, in my 50s. But I began to study very seriously the secret history of the Mongols.
And when was the first encounter with the great secret story of Mongolians appeared in you the first time?
I first began to read it in 1997, so it's not so terribly long ago. And I must tell you, I first began to read it and I didn't understand it. It was so difficult. The names were so difficult. Everything was so new to me. But the way that I approached the secret history was not just to read it over and over, but to take the book and go to the countryside. Go to the place where this happened. Go to the Onon River. Go to the Herling River, the Told River. Go to the Gobi. Go to the place it happened and then read the book. And then it began to make sense. Then when you're standing beside the Onon River, you can begin to see Genghis Khan. Because you look around and there's some little boy. He could be just another Temujin. There he is, he's out trying to fish and break the ice in order to fish. Or he's chasing around, playing with his, sometimes even with a bow and arrow, or riding his horse and doing tricks. I began to see this is how you learn. Half is from the book, but half is from being in Mongolia and looking at the Mongolian people, especially at the children. If you want to understand Genghis Khan, it's important to remember that first, like every person, he was a child. If you understand the childhood of Genghis Khan, then you can understand better what he did later in life.
And when you started learning about the Mongolian history, definitely we Mongolian believe there are not much information left from our history, or they are kept in the libraries in other countries. What was your approach to find and collect information for your research?
I compared what was in the secret history with sources from all countries I could find. Certainly from China. There were some early envoys from the Song dynasty who came and visited the Mongolian court, and they wrote back long accounts of what they saw. Also, there were ambassadors who came here from Europe, from the King of France and from the Pope. They did not see Genghis Khan, but they came soon after, and they wrote down accounts of his life and of the things they saw. Also the Persians, especially the writer Jovani, he came here because his father was working with the Mongolian administration. And he came, so you compare what's in the secret history with these other documents, and you begin slowly to see a different image of Mongolia.